Welcome back. Well, today we're going to talk about a therapy that many of us maybe never thought about, electromagnetic therapy. And with me today is Mark Hoffman from Multidimensional Technologies to tell us all about it. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Electromagnetic therapy, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Not magnets that people
no.
put tape onto their body or whatever. This is different.
No, it's not like that.
Okay. What got you interested in this, first of all?
Well, I had a friend that worked for me in my company, and he claimed that he had cured himself of lymphoma with a Tesla coil. And so
Really?
I thought this sounds pretty far-fetched, you know, I mean.
Yeah.
And so he, you know, we started doing some work together, and we hooked up with a couple other people. And in probably the mid-90s, we actually developed the first unit, which was called a BELLS unit, which stands for Bioelectric Light Stimulator.
Okay, did you make a Tesla coil first, or how did you?
We did.
I mean, have you always been into electronics? I'm guessing that, no?
Not really.
No, okay.
No, I mean, I was into science.
Uh-huh.
I mean, everybody thought I'd be a scientist when I grew up. I ended up getting into construction work, but, you know.
Okay, so you build a unit, kind of because this guy told you
Right.
his body improved with the use of a Tesla coil. Now, the unit that you developed, was it similar to a Tesla coil? Or?
It was a Tesla coil.
Oh, okay.
And then we, you know, we got different types of gases and installed those into that, hooked them up to the Tesla coil to create an energy field that was conducive to the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you weren't into this, did you have to study some writings of Tesla, or how did you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I read stuff. I read stuff about it, and, you know, just one thing led to another, more or less. Yeah.
So you did your research.
Yeah.
Right. And then you and a couple other people put this together?
Right. I worked
Okay.
with a couple other guys. One guy, his name is Kent Noonan, who's at MauiLight.com, and he is a electronics professional.
Okay.
Another person is David Flynn. He's a computer and electronics professional. And then Ken Bental, who is our medical intuitive, who really played a major role in this, because we did not have equipment to actually see what it was doing to the body, and we used him to get to the point where we were able to go and get it medically tested.
Okay, now this is kind of out of the box for some people.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think it's fascinating. Now, a medical intuitive is one who is an intuitive. Some people call them psychics, but there are people who can see energy fields.
Absolutely.
That's scientifically proven, so that's what we're talking about when we say medical intuitive. And how the energy can relate to the body, is that right?
Right.
That's what this man can see, Ken.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Tesla, Lahovsky, and Rife, these were some of the men that did some research in our history.
Exactly. Yeah, between the 1890s up to the mid-1930s, there was like a major influx of scientists who are doing different things with radio waves. The units that we build are based upon primarily the work of George Lahovsky, which were called multiple wave oscillators. And basically what Lahovsky's work, he studied the human cell as well as cells in plants and animals. And he was able to find within them, he was an electrical engineer. So what he found in the cell was that they had these proper electrical properties. They had capacitance, inductance, and resistance. And when together in that setup, they resonated. So what he was able to figure out was that a cell has an oscillatory nature. In other words, it oscillates. Every
cell in the body, then?
Every cell has an oscillatory nature. The different organs have different cells, which have different oscillatory frequencies. Okay, so through his work, he found that a healthy cell, had a resonance, but when it became invaded by microbes, it would lose that resonance, and it would enter into what he called oscillatory disequilibrium, which means that the cell basically is diseased.
Now, is this the same thing, maybe you know, if this is the same thing that when people talk about free radicals hitting a cell, or free radical damage, it would change the vibratory rate of the cell, which in turn makes us ill.
Different influences besides just microbes can change the frequency of a cell, because a cell, the DNA, is like an antenna. It transmits and receives frequencies. Lahovsky's belief was that there were cosmic radiation that interacted with the cells through the DNA, which made it work, basically made it operate. That was the premise for his work. So he was able to determine a broad band of frequencies which all human cells worked on.
Oh, okay, so he was able to determine that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And so at that point, then he created a machine which created this broad band of frequencies that interacted with the cell, and
or with all the cells.
with
in the
all
human
the cells,
body.
with the whole body.
Right.
Absolutely.
We have a couple books by Lahovsky that we'll
Right.
take a look at the covers.
Right.
They're very simple covers, but some of his research is in these books that
Right.
you're talking about.
Right.
Okay. Yep, Borderland Books, or
Borderland Sciences, correct.
Produced these books, Secret of Life and The Waves That Heal. So this is who we're talking about.
Right.
When did he do this research?
The book was published in 1935,
Okay.
so it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But even today, this is really pushing the envelope of what, normal medical research would believe.
Right. So why didn't this make it to the year 2000? I mean,
Well, one
in
of the
popularity, you're doing this, and
Yeah.
some other people are probably toying with it. But
well, it just so happens that the day that Lahovsky released the publication, The Secret of Life, was the day that Hitler was invading Prague. So it kind of like got pushed onto like the back page of the newspaper.
Sure, yeah.
Although there were scientists and other researchers of his time which saw the work and were quite impressed with it. But because there was so much going on during that time, it kind of just didn't really make it up to the top shelf. And so it's still there. The research
Yeah.
is there, and it's like this. We have actually had one of the first unit that we built was medically tested.
right, and we're going to get into that in a little
Right.
bit when we come back. But is anybody else doing this, or
There are other people
based on his research?
There's other people out there who build different types of multiple wave oscillators, but primarily what people build are what are called Rife machines, which was Royal Rife who built
Okay,
a
based
machine
on his research.
on his research, which was a single
Okay.
frequency. He used machines which had a single frequency to target a certain pathogen.
Okay.
Okay, whereas what we're doing is we're creating the field of energy for the whole body.
Okay, all right. Well, when we come back, we're going to take a look at these machines. We taped them earlier, and they're really interesting to look at. So you won't want to go away. We're also going to be talking about some of the medical research that was done. So we'll be right back.
It's the end of the
Welcome back to Wellbeing. I'm Cindy Bryant, visiting today with Mark Hoffman of Multidimensional Technologies. We're learning about electromagnetic therapy and your machines that you've developed. The BELLS unit, you said, bioelectric
Light
stimulator.
Correct.
Let's take a look at that machine. I know everybody's dying to see what these look like.
Okay.
This is it in the dark. Now I hope everybody can see there's little lightning coming out of the top, purple lightning, if you have a color TV out there. And you are holding a fluorescent tube, Mark, and it's
That's
not
right.
plugged in.
Yes, that's
It's lighting up as you bring it toward the machine.
right.
Tell us about that.
Well, that's Tesla's wireless transmission of electricity. Basically, you create a plasma field that's strong enough, can light up, or could run.
Yeah, I noticed that
Yeah.
you would bring the tube close to,
Right.
almost like what I think of as an aura around a person's body.
Right.
And it actually lights up that fluorescent tube. And you had both your hands on either end,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's obvious that it was not plugged into anything. Here we're showing it again.
It's plugged into me.
Plugged into you.
Yeah.
So are you the conductor then?
No,
No, you're not.
no, I'm just holding and showing it that there's no wires hooked to it.
Okay,
Yeah,
fascinating. So this demonstrates the field that it creates.
exactly.
Now what? Now what do you do with it? Do you stand beside it, or how does? What do
Yeah.
people do?
You just get within a few feet of the machine, and it radiates through your body. It takes the cell, and basically takes a cell and returns it to a state of rejuvenation,
Okay.
and that's the
Or does it go and look for negative electrons or?
well. To
Makes
try
them-
to make it as simple as possible.
Okay.
I mean, basically, you create a field of these different frequencies. When the cell within it has a blueprint frequency that it functions at. If the cell goes into what Lahovsky called oscillatory disequilibrium, it loses that frequency. When
And that could be caused by depression or
yeah,
anything
it
that,
could be created by other types of radio waves,
right?
or like, for example, the 60 hertz.
Anything that would compromise
Yeah.
our physical body.
Exactly.
And to lead us to an illness,
Because our
perhaps.
cells are like antennas. They have these antennas. They pick up everything, everything going around us. Yeah.
You have this worded very nicely in your Bell's unit book here. The human body, from an energetic standpoint, when weakened or shifted from its normal equilibrium, which is what we're talking about, oscillates at a different and less harmonious frequency than when healthy. This frequency reflects a general state of cellular imbalance, and then when a weakened individual is unable to shift his energy to the needed frequency to allow the immune system to properly define itself, then the chemical abnormalities would follow. This unit, you're saying, would help to return the frequencies to their proper state. I'm just trying to clarify this.
Exactly.
For
What would actually, Blahosky's work, what it showed was that the frequency entered the cell. It caused the cell to expel the toxins in it and then ingest nutrients.
Ingest nutrients?
Nutrients.
Okay, so
I
the
mean,
cell could then function
again.
properly.
Exactly.
Okay. The unit we just saw, the Bell's unit, how is it different from the next unit we're going to see?
It's quite a bit more powerful.
Okay.
And we found that in our research that we didn't really need to be that powerful with it because we're really working very subtle energies. And these are it's just a radio wave. So you don't...
Even though those lightning bolts are coming out of the top,
Yeah.
it's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to catch your hair on fire. It's not going to zap you and make your hair stand up. It's not that kind of energy.
It's high frequency, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at the next unit, which is the SEED unit, Subtle Energy Activation Device, right?
Correct.
Okay. This has a purple tube at the top. Viewers, I know this is dark, but the idea is that the fluorescent tube is demonstrating again for you the field created
Right.
by
That's
the
right.
machine. And this machine, you said, is not as powerful, or?
Well, it's not as powerful, correct? Because we found that we didn't need to be
Okay.
that powerful. Although some people really like the more powerful unit. I mean, people who are not used to feeling energy fields would find the larger unit more attractive because they would actually feel it. If you're more attuned to subtle energy fields, you may be much more happier with the smaller unit.
Sure. Now, someone would put this in their room or
Yeah.
in their home and sit with it?
Sure.
Or for an extended period of time, or is there a recommended
Well, it
dosage,
depends.
I guess?
It depends on the individual. Blahosky's work, would go through a certain regimen of treatments, usually 15 minutes at a time.
Okay.
And this could go on for a few weeks or months, depending
Okay.
on what was actually being, trying to be done.
You had scientific clinical examinations done on the Bell's unit.
Correct.
And you have this all in this book. It's all documented.
Right.
We're not just making this up. This
No,
is
it's
not
a real
just
thing.
hearsay. This has
Anybody
been...
who emails me, I will be happy to send them a
Right.
copy of the results.
Right, and we'll put that up in a little bit, that email address again. Many instances of depression and other emotional problems were reported. And with the exception of a single patient who wanted to return to antidepressants, all of the patients exhibited, optimistic, cheerful outlooks. Okay, that seems kind of, well, I don't know, that could be a placebo effect. But pulse rates, lowered in people who use these units. People did no longer complain of fatigue. Some people had pain that dissipated. Now, certainly, you're not a medical doctor,
No.
and neither are your partners.
No, but we work with
But-
them, and we're willing to work with other doctors that are interested in our research. Absolutely.
Okay,
Because I really feel that there's a balance there. I
sure.
mean, these are not intended to replace a physician.
Not at all, but it's a complementary
Absolutely.
alternative therapy that somebody may want to
Try
to
out.
look into if nothing else seems to be working. Now, I've looked through here, chronic fatigue, even HIV. There's a lot of HIV people that were in this study.
Right.
And while they weren't cured, I didn't get that far, but a lot of them had a lot of positive,
Yeah. There were people whose viral load went to non-detectable.
really? Okay, non-detectable. I didn't read that part.
Yeah, that's not really.
And people had,
it's in this
people
part.
wrote in and saying the improvement was dramatic. All my symptoms seem to have disappeared. I don't have fatigue anymore.
Right.
What about you? You've been using these machines,
Yeah.
yeah? You
Well-
spend a lot of time with these.
Well, I don't run them a terrible amount, but I mean, I spend some time with them. They keep me going.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Have you noticed any major shifts or?
Well, it's been years at this point. I have vitality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a lot of vitality, so I don't notice not having vitality.
Yeah. Fascinating. Well, I want to put your website address up one more time, and that is multidimensionaltechnologies.f2s. multidtac@excite.com is your email address, and then the phone number is on your screen, viewers, if you're interested in more information. Mark, thank you very much.
Thank you
For talking with us today about
Appreciate it.
electromagnetic therapy. Very interesting.